on vacation, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So we're all here then,
We have everybody.
and we have 28
On
seconds
vacation, right?
to 7
Yeah.
o'clock.
Okay. We're good on my side.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order at 6:59. Right out of the gate, we're gonna pick a scribe. Do I have any takers?
I think it's my turn.
Okay. And I hopefully everybody looked at the meeting minutes Lee posted for 3:31.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept those meeting minutes as he presented.
Second.
That's been seconded. All those in favor with a thumbs up? We have a unanimous vote, so those are accepted. I'll post those later. We're going to open up to public comment. I think probably a good idea if we have Lieutenant Newell here, if we could just give a 10-second description of ourselves so he knows a little bit of our background. Why don't we start with Tim?
Sure. My name is Tim Fling. I came to the committee as like a DOI homeowner, as well as a background with acoustics and kind of just an understanding of the science behind sound. So that's what I want to bring to the table.
Go ahead, Lee.
Yep, I'm Lee Perrin. I live at 3 Powder Mill Lane here in Southborough, and I was 40 years in physician and anesthesiologist, mostly at St. Elizabeth's Medical Center in Boston. I retired a little over a year ago, and my current occupation is I'm a certified flight instructor. I'm on this committee in part because I get to tolerate some of the noise that we're trying to mitigate, and in part because I bring a perspective of healthcare to the committee.
Great. Cindy.
I am Cindy Foster. I'm on the committee as the advocate for the landscape and construction contractors in town.
And John?
Welcome. So John Mello, 10 Birchwood Drive. Probably on the committee more of a kind of a libertarian sort of a minimal approach. I have an engineering background, and I like power tools.
And I've worked with Ryan and obviously in Westboro. We've worked on a few things together. We've often met up, so he knows where I'm coming from. Wanted to try and get something done for town meeting for the town and for the police department and also for the residents, so they have something that when noise situations pop up, that there's some regulations in place.
Nice to meet you all.
Thanks. Why don't we go ahead with the homework that Tim and Lee put together? They put together a PowerPoint presentation that we're gonna have at town meeting. Why don't I turn it over to you folks so you can go through it?
Oh, yeah, Lee, I'll drive. Why don't you take the beginning and I'll take the end?
Sure. So, we started with the template that we used for the public forum, but rapidly changed it. So we made the cover slide, then the next one goes to our charge and committee process. We felt like highlighting the incredible amount of time that we've actually spent doing this, more than 21 meetings that we've broadcast live, and multiplying the number of meetings by the number of people and the number of hours, we came up with at least 420 person hours spent in meetings and researching this. We started by reviewing existing noise bylaws drafts that were proposed at the Southborough town meetings last year and in 2017. And we examined the bylaws of other towns and tried to get an idea of their effectiveness. We did a survey of the town residents and we held multiple public forums. Our committee is very balanced, and you can see the listing of the people who are on our committee and what their point of view that they brought to the committee. Next slide. So one of the questions that we sought to answer is why a noise bylaw and why now? And, you know, so last year there was a bylaw that was presented to town meeting, and it was felt that that this was probably too complicated, and it was sent back to postpone, and with the idea that an ad hoc committee would be created to try to come up with something that was more streamlined and that would be workable. Our input from the then chief of police at the time was that enforcement of people making too much noise was not possible without having a bylaw on the books. Next slide. So we did a survey, had 473 respondents, which, considering the number of people in the town of Southborough, is an incredibly high response. Most surveys get 1 or 2%. This is far higher than that. While 50% of the people who surveyed did not necessarily see a need for a noise bylaw, the other 50% did. For the 50% who don't see a need, they don't need to use it. For the 50% who were hoping that we would have a noise bylaw, we hope that this addresses their desires. Next. One of the things that we looked at was whether to use decibels. That is a measure of the loudness of noise in order to be able to explain, to be able to enforce a noise bylaw. Getting input from other law enforcement communities who've tried to use sound level meters, we found that this was not really practical. And most of them, even if they did have decibels in their bylaws, were not effectively being able to use them. It also markedly increases the complexity of writing a noise bylaw. So therefore, we did not include it. Next. So our proposed bylaw has several sections, which you can see here, and that are specified in the warrant. So we've got a few scenarios for you. Mr. Fling, give it a fling.
So to give this some clarity and some context, we put some basic scenarios together that people among town have experienced. So here's a real basic one. A landscaping crew shows up at 6 a.m. and they start working on a property. Our current solution is that you get to enjoy your coffee while woken up to the sounds of leaf blowers and lawnmowers in the distance. And you get to stew with your eyes being red all day. With the proposed bylaw, noise associated with contracted work is not allowed before 7 a.m. on weekdays, 8 a.m. on Saturdays, and it's prohibited on Sundays and holidays. Another scenario would be a parent sends their kids outside to play in the backyard. We're all in that situation where you want to send the kids outside, get them some fresh air and get some energy out. Currently, there's no noise restriction, so that type of activity is allowed. Going forward with the proposed bylaw, normal kid activities are not restricted. You wouldn't have to worry about sending your kids outside to play out in the fresh air. Now, we have two scenarios here. One of them is a bit more cheeky and one of them is not so much. So I'm going to go with the not so cheeky one first. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Families outside on their deck having a barbecue. The property beside them recently sold, and there's a developer that's building a house there. So the construction crew shows up and they start to prepare the land on Sunday for the new building. Well, the current situation is you get to tolerate the noise as the crew works beside you. what the proposed bylaw, noise associated with contracted work, is not allowed on Sundays, and the police would be empowered to enforce the noise bylaw. 3Bs are just I'm not going to read it right this second, but just Christmas Day, it's a little bit more of a scenario. And then the last one would be the church bells down the street chime on the hour during the day. So currently there's no noise bylaw to prevent this type of activity. And with the proposed bylaw, that type of activity is exempt. So you wouldn't have to worry about somebody trying to shut down the church bells. So with this, the committee moves to adopt the warrant article as written. And then we would start with any questions or debate. So we can go back through this and talk about any sections that we have and changes to them.
Yeah, let's go through it slide by slide, maybe easiest.
Yep.
Yeah, on that first slide, Tim, I wanted to maybe touch base with Lieutenant Newell. Are you in fact an ex officio member now, or how does that work, Ryan?
For,
Like, are you, like, as acting police chief, are you on the committee like that, in that capacity?
to be honest, Peter, I'm not exactly sure. I can check on that and get back to you, but
Okay,
I would assume so if that's the case, if it's the police chief.
okay.
Ty-
Yeah, I don't
typically-
know the legalities, and we want to make sure we're obviously it's correct if we're going to put it up there. So,
Pete, typically, when I used to work at town hall in a couple of departments. Typically, when someone is an acting whatever, police chief, town accountant, whatever that person has been assigned to do, the acting person does.
Yeah.
So it should not be a problem.
okay,
Right, and they were a member of the committee ex officio, which of course means by virtue of the position held.
right.
Makes sense.
Yep. Does anybody have any comments on that slide?
I'm just wondering, does the 420, because I think it's great to give people an idea of the effort we've put in. Does the amount of hours include like all the homework and stuff that
No.
we did?
Oh,
Okay,
That's why
Because-
it's plus.
yeah, I think there might want to be a comment, not necessarily change the slide, but Lee, as you're going, or whoever's going to go through them, just mention that it did not include the hours and hours spent in additional meetings and researching.
I mean,
Yeah,
we-
I would put in not including researching.
Yeah, yeah. Not including other meetings and research time.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's good. Sure.
So I mean, this number could get higher. I mean, like the reason that these are here, to talk about the why they exist. A lot of people say I never heard about this. Well, by saying we had 21 plus public meetings, we can kind of head that off at the pass. By saying
And
we
all
were-
of them are on YouTube for them to look at.
Yeah, by saying we have 420 plus person hours spent. John, I know you know the real number, so please, if this isn't right, let's fix it. But by saying this, we get to say like that there was plenty of thought process put into this sort of thing. So we're helping build our case as we move through these pieces.
Right, and that actually, that number actually, as I think about it, doesn't include the person hours by the ex officio people.
Right,
Mm,
And Heather's been at every meeting.
right.
Maybe we should add one more, person, and that would make it. So we got to this by taking 70 times 6. So we should make it 500 plus.
Yeah, if you include the chief and Heather, it'll be over 500.
Yeah,
Well, plus
easily.
we had 7 members to start out with, so there were more person hours there.
And climbing.
So my question for the slide is, Chief Newell, are you going to be able to be at the town meeting? The reason for that is Chief Paulus last year stood up and answered a lot of questions, including recommending why the last bylaw was not the appropriate one, and recommended certain things for the town to look at, which we took his advice. So I think having you to endorse or ask questions from our citizens at the town meeting will help move this forward.
I will be there on the 4th. If it goes to the 5th day, though, I have a planned vacation that I had planned from before this even happened, so I would not be able to attend on the 5th.
I'm hoping it's on the 4th too.
Me too.
Me too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that looks good to me. We'll go to the next one.
Before I move on this, Lee and I took the best stab we could at people's descriptions. So if you guys would like a modification of your descriptor, I'd be happy to change it. So before we move off this, just take a quick read through yours and see if you agree.
Tim, for me, I would just put engineer in DOI homeowner, just more generic.
Not libertarian.
That's the way I think. Like,
Yeah.
let's
no,
keep
I-
everything limited.
Tim, maybe put health director.
There you go.
Okay.
I don't know if I should put that I'm a town retiree or not. Because when I applied for the committee, that was one of the things they said I was familiar with the committees and the all the stuff around the minutes and agendas, and I'm just not putting it well.
I would probably put that as second, put the landscape.
Yeah, yeah.
Just reverse the order of them, yeah.
And acting chief, no, you're acting chief. You're not lieutenant anymore, right?
Yeah, correct. That's fine.
I wonder if you should put retired law enforcement for me. Is that
Retired, yeah,
former has that negative connotation to it?
yeah.
Okay, I know Lisa's gonna do her own later, but does anybody think that we should have anything other than what's written for Lisa?
No, I mean, I think that looks pretty good. She may want to change it, but you know, we can deal with that at the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. So moving forward to the next slide then. So we took this right from the summary that's gonna be posted with the warrant. So that's where this kind of comes from. And then we just separated noise enforcement.
The only thing is, and this is just picky, an ad hoc committee was formed to create a proposed noise bylaw. It wasn't necessarily this one. This is what
Sure.
we came up with.
Fine with us.
Got it. Anybody
Right,
else?
right. And that's the difference between what's in the warrant summary, because, well, no, you're still right, even for the warrant summary, but it's too late to change that.
Yep. Okay, so town survey. Anybody have anything to add or take away from this?
No,
I think the message here is the town's pretty split, right?
yeah,
I would love to know what the voting members are within the town, if we have that data somewhere. Because I'd like to put a percent for what 473 means. Because we talk about a town of 10,000, but voting members is probably in the adults is probably in the 6,000 range, maybe a little bit more. I'm just not positive on that, but you know, our percent of 473 would come from that 7,000 number, not from the 10,000 number. So this is actually a fairly high percent. If it's worth it, it's just a good talking point, as Lee brought it up earlier.
yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff on the web.
All right, well, if we find something, we can add it later, but for now, we'll let it go. So decibel rating, we're good here.
Quick question. I think we need to do this, but do we need to have this as part of the presentation? There's 12 slides. It's going to be more than 5 minutes, I think.
I mean, it could be or it could not be. It's part of the survey, so it depends if we want to head something off at the pass. Because if somebody brings up why isn't a decibel rating in here, and why isn't something more responsive in that nature, it's something that we get to explain in our own words instead of responding to a question.
I know you're right, but I'm also worried about Peter Lepine. You know, he is upset that we're not going a lot further with this bylaw. So I think he's gonna say a few things, and I just don't know how to address
Well, we can,
those.
if we do this slide real quickly, that his questions can be answered on the floor. And
Yeah.
Mm.
outside of our presentation,
Yeah,
and we can talk a little bit more about it.
And for me, the decibel inclusion or exclusion really was Chief Paula saying, you know, and you know, your notes, and that it's just unenforceable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to just see somehow the words not enforceable on one of these 3 lines.
It's just not practical,
It's not
really.
practical. It's like, that's the
Right.
first thing. It's like,
It's not practical, yeah.
So the census information indicates we have 10,450 on April 1st, 2020 residents, and 27.4% of them were under the age of 18. So that leaves over the age of 18 being 7,586, or call it 7,600.
so that doesn't count voting members. So
No,
That
it
number-
doesn't.
that number could or could not help us. Maybe I think let's not write it down, Lee, but maybe you want to put a note in your talking points if we find what we
Yes,
have.
stick it down in the notes at the bottom there. Because you and I will have that printed up as our speaking note.
Okay, so we
So
got
when you
that.
look at 473 divided by 7,600,
I mean, some of those people could have been from out of town too, that did
No, we
fill
only
out the survey. We don't know. So I mean, it's just the fact that we have that kind of
Yeah.
interest in doing the survey is good
I
enough.
mean, we got this, that's like 6% we got, which is
Yeah.
substantial.
so so I added.
One-
Do we
One
like?
more change on this, decibel levels don't explain.
I think if we add here, as evidenced by other towns, during our research. I don't know if that's too many words for this, but I think the idea there, and Lieutenant, do you, or is it just Chief? Are we just going with Chief? I think that's fair, right?
That's fine, Tim.
Is that fair to say from your experience that decibels are not necessarily enforceable from how other towns have implemented it?
Yes. I would say, you know, I worked for Nantucket Police before I came to Southborough Police, and they had a noise bylaw that was very similar to what has been created here, and it was very easy to work with. And in the meantime, I checked in with them, and they had purchased a noise meter, and they said that it was, you know, I spoke to a lieutenant that I still have contact with, and he said it was very problematic, very expensive, the training, the maintenance. They could only train one officer on the meter itself, and it was always, you know, coming down to whether or not that officer was available when they needed it. So this, you know, I'm glad this is the direction that we're going. So.
Okay, excellent. So are we committee happy with this slide, or do we want
How
further?
about, Tim, do you think, I don't know, not enforceable, Lieutenant, might not quite be the right word? I mean, it's, highly difficult or problematic.
Yeah,
to
That makes
enforce.
sense.
Mm.
I'd go with problematic to enforce. Or if somebody wants to ask questions, they can say, why was it problematic? So then you can go, then we can go into the training, the maintenance, and all those other issues.
Right, but at least you don't have someone saying, yes, you can enforce it if you do blah, blah, blah.
John, is it a capital B? I think it's a capital B, right?
We're in decibel.
Yeah, there's a certain way of writing it where it has a capital.
I think only the abbreviation is small d and then capital BA.
You're muted, John.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, and the spelling is correct. It's just abbreviation has the capital,
Okay, cool.
just like Lee said.
So we'll go on this slide.
Yep.
Okay, so proposed bylaw, we only have select sections here. We didn't feel like definitions and everything else need to take up slide space. Okay, so cool. Scenario 1 then. We don't need to have 4 scenarios. As I read through them, they got to be a little long, but we were trying to hit things that would stay as they are, things that would change. So we were trying to find the balance. So, with that in mind, we can approach this section however the committee feels we should.
I mean, I thought scenario 1 was good.
Me too. I like it.
And I wanted you to make note that, you talk about all the, restricted times. On a further scenario, you don't do that, and I think you should. So.
Okay. So, John, you look like you want to.
Yeah, my notes had something slightly different. If you go to slide 11, I'm sorry, 10, the Christmas. So Christmas Day is winter. Most people have their windows closed and so forth, so the noise is not there. What I had written down as proposed was that, in this scenario, this would be a family is vacationing and they have the landscaping come on Sundays. Is that?
Well, that's pretty much 3A.
That's
I would take out 3B and
Yeah.
go with 3A.
They were to be an alt. So
Okay.
3B was to be one of those egregious situations, and we were going back and forth when Lee and I put this together was, do you want something a little bit more kind of over the top, or do you want something a little bit more realistic? So we the over the top was Christmas Day. It was enjoy the noise and back massage. It's a crew bulldozes the land beside you. It was a little bit more descriptive.
So what I wrote down was something related to the garbage pickup and so forth, the early morning noises, which Lisa had, mentioned several times. And Lisa Braccio actually stood up the last, a year ago at the town meeting and actually described that specific scenario to the town. So the reason I was thinking of that one is that would make a lot of our neighbors realize I don't have a noise pickup issue, but obviously if you live in certain areas of town, you might. So it would make it more connected to something that you do not think would be an issue today. And this one, if you look at your the 1A, the one scenario that's enjoying early morning coffee, and you get trash pickup, that could be waking up the kids, that could be something else. So I think now we're dealing with noise in terms of the scenarios. I think the scenarios we have are fine, but those are the only ones. That's one I had that that you guys didn't list. So
Okay. So let's ask that question. So right now we have a landscaping crew. We have a parent sending their kid outside to play. We have a Sunday afternoon, which has ties back to the landscaping crew, or somewhat to construction, so it's tangential. We have a church bell. So of all of these here, I think the church bell is probably the weakest scenario that we may not need to keep.
Would agree.
I would agree.
I like the trash truck better. I like the
Yeah.
church bell, but the trash pickup is probably something that affects more people.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, so do we want to stick with 4 scenarios, or do we want to go down to 3 scenarios?
I would say 4 with the trash pickup being the 4th one.
Yeah.
Okay,
The worst thing that happens is somebody gives us the cut sign. That we're taking too long.
okay, so John, you want to read out your scenario and I'll write down where we are?
Let me bring it up.
I mean, you have a good night's sleep and you get woken up at 6 o'clock from a dumpster being emptied.
Yeah, a trash pickup crew shows up at, pick a time. Lisa actually mentioned 4 a.m., but you can say 6 a.m. and in the current situation is you're woken up from you're just you're woken up from your sleep, or your kids are woken up. Because that's, I think, what Lisa Braccio mentioned, and so does our Lisa. And the proposed law is basically the same thing you have in scenario 1. It's, trash pickup is restricted.
And I write on the current solution, you are awakened. And annoyed.
In this, obviously, this happens on a
Oh, you
weekly
could say,
basis.
you could
Right.
say you're awakened on a weekly basis or something. Or the trash pickup crew shows up every week at 4 a.m.
Right, yeah.
I don't know, that my neighbor's trash gets picked up at least twice a week, although
Oh,
at a
really?
reasonable hour, but it's more than once a week.
I like that.
So
Yeah.
this is an example where, me being a minimalist, somebody describing this to me, I'm like, oh, damn, we do need something to protect those neighbors.
This is also, I gotta pull it up unless somebody else has it handy. But it's restricted if you're abutting a residential neighborhood, the way it's written.
Hmm.
No trash, number, but 59, right? Line 59,
Yep.
9 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I would just put that sentence in there.
Yeah,
Okay. You can do it that way.
delete the rest, yeah, delete the top part.
Yeah.
I don't think this was the line that Dennington removed. I don't have the draft that was published. There's a comma removed from one of the sentences, and I don't remember if this was the one.
I wouldn't worry about it because.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
For the comments.
It's just an example.
And actually, you know what? I listened to that, and thank you, John, for posting the time, so I didn't have to sift through it. And what he did is he removed one of our Oxford commas. So.
No,
so wouldn't
it
have been
reads the way it is in draft 12.
Okay.
So do you still have the church bell scenario?
No, I just
That's
eliminated this one.
He hit it and put it away.
Yeah, I'm gonna delete it once we confirm this is where we want it to go. So if we're good with it, I'm deleting that one. So we have scenario 1 is the landscaping crew. 2 is a parent sends their kids outside to play. 3 is a Sunday afternoon for construction. And then 4 is trash pickup. So-
So if you, Tim, if you go to the children's one, there's no noise restrictions today. Normal kid activities. Now you're asking questions. What does that mean? We're not really adding any restrictions with kids. It just, there's no
Yeah, but-
changes.
Technically speaking, the 11 p.m. time frame, which is outside of normal kid activities,
Okay.
is where the restriction comes in, because everybody in town would have that same kind of quiet restriction. So I didn't want to write it in the way that it was
Misleading.
misleading, because normal kid activities, like kids playing outside during the day, it's a normal kid activity. None of that's restricted because it's during the daytime hours. It doesn't fall under the exterior noise standards. It doesn't fall under the 11 p.m. Quiet enjoyment hours that are defined with the hooting, hollering section.
I just think our town, there's going to be, a good portion of the town that doesn't want anything. So they're going to find something to dig their teeth into. And I guess that'll be questions on the floor, what that means, but
Hmm.
I don't know if we need to say current here because it says current right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
maybe just with the proposed bylaw, say, no change. Because the noise restriction is not specific to children.
I mean, you could put kid
No.
activities are not singled out.
Right. So just say no change with the proposed bylaw.
Right.
So this doesn't need to be here. Like,
Right. You don't need the normal kid activities.
okay,
There currently is no noise restriction and there's no change.
I mean, they're still disturbing the peace and so forth, but that's there today.
Correct.
Right.
okay, I'm fine with that. I just didn't want to be inaccurate. Okay, so are we comfortable with our scenarios?
Can we, and this is really picky, but I
Okay.
know when Peter got on the public forum, he complained about the grammar. So some of these, okay, scenario 1 doesn't have any periods at the end of sentences. Scenario 2 doesn't, so that's consistent. 3, we're gonna take out, yep. Yep. And yep. Okay, we're good.
You have, yeah, right.
Although anybody who would get up to complain about your slides as opposed to the bylaw itself, that would be like delay of game.
Yeah, but
I don't know if you can,
I would say, maybe the warrant article as presented.
So question is, could we actually write the committee, the ad hoc committee, the advisory committee, and the select board moves, just be more,
Did the advisory endorse it?
I don't
I don't think they did.
think you can do that yet.
yeah, I know that select board did, but I don't know about advisory.
I mean, maybe we might know before.
Yeah,
the
I don't
meeting.
know if we, I don't know if we need to. I see there's some members of advisory in the attendee section, and I don't know if they'd like to speak or not, but we do have public comment open. But We can remove this for now. My feeling on this slide is less is more. This could be verbal addition if we wanted to. So I'd rather just say the ad hoc committee moves to adopt this and leave it at that.
Okay.
Or technically, I think it's at the purview of whoever's speaking, because whoever's speaking makes the motion on the floor. That they make a motion to move it. I think how this works, but I don't know. You guys have all probably been to way more town meetings than me. I don't exactly.
It's the selectmen are putting it forward. We're just doing the presentation, so they'll do all the legal part of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So whether it's a selectman based warrant article. So
we could just strike slide 11 altogether, and it could just be a verbal thing. I don't think.
Yeah, I would think that you could just strike it. I would strike it. I don't think you need it.
I'll just put this in the notes of slide 10, but unless we want like a wrap up slide, I don't think we need a slide after the last scenario.
I think that looks great.
Maybe we see if the people in the audience, the public comment, have any comments about the presentation. Maybe they have an idea to make it better.
Do you think we should maybe talk about the difference between the homeowner and the construction to kind of show that we did extend hours for homeowners? I don't know how we can do that,
I think we could do it in this slide as
Okay.
a talking point. So Lee could say like,
Right.
but we have
actually, we have a note down in the notes section.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just a talking point here. Like anything.
So just say we do have different standards for each activity. Yep.
I think at the end of the day, I was asked that the transfer station the other day, somebody was there and I was talking to Sam Stivers and somebody else was there too, and they asked me about this. So in my discussion with them, the answer that I had at the end of the day was the goal of this is to make contracted work neighborly. If you live next to your neighbor, you act neighborly as much as you can. This is just putting some level of neighborly standards on the books, so that way people that don't necessarily have a horse in the race, they have an opportunity to have some kind of neighborly reaction and presentation as work is getting done. So it's just making sure that people that don't live right beside you act like your neighbor.
How about if you put in parentheses under homeowner work, less restrictive?
And then down in my notes in the bottom, you can put what the actual hours are for both.
Yeah.
Just copy and paste that section.
I mean, the homeowner has no day restrictions, period.
Yeah.
No, just different hours for the weekend versus weekdays.
Yeah, just Saturday. Yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
Then if a question comes up, I'll have it there for reference.
Perfect.
Won't have to go searching through that too.
Cool. So I think it's pretty comprehensive. We're comfortable taking away the yellow. We agreed to the hours that we wrote down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And then the only one which technically I could make yellow or not is Lisa, but we know we need to go back and check with her.
It's only the middle of the night.
So I have a point of order, I guess. When I do the notes for this, we're gonna have to include this document, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We actually have to include V1 and V2.
Okay, so you'll send me those, Tim?
Yep. I'll send them out after the meeting.
Do you think we should indefinitely postpone until Lisa's back before we accept it?
I mean, we don't
We've got a
necessarily.
1-hour meeting next week, right?
Yeah.
So how about if we send this to her and just ask her to, review her description and does she, I mean, I don't think we can take the time next week in 1 hour to redo this whole thing.
No, yeah, well, I know,
I mean,
but
I'll make a motion to accept this document as written with the opportunity for Lisa to update her qualifiers.
I'll second that. Okay, so we'll have a vote. Tim, Lee, John, I can't see Cindy.
Oh, yes.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Perfect.
Okay, who seconded that?
I did,
Okay,
Peter.
yeah.
Okay, so we got this one as one item off the list, right? We're good here?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Pete, you want to go right into the FAQs, or are we going? We got a hand up in the audience.
Go ahead. I don't know who it is.
Good evening. It's Tim Litt from Woodland Road. Just a couple of things. I won't try and make your meeting any longer than it is. First, I pull this town census data periodically. I last did that in June, and at that point, there were 8,108 people 18 years of old and older, and of those, 7,530 were registered voters in some party or other. So if that helps you with your statistics, you now have real numbers from the town clerk's office via my spreadsheet.
Thank you,
Okay,
Tim.
wait a minute. Tim, don't go anywhere. Did anybody grab those numbers for the presentation? Because I didn't get them all.
I'll do it slowly.
Okay,
18 years of old and older, 8,108.
yeah,
Registered voters, 7,530
and that was
as of June of last year. So it's going to be
Thank
pretty
you.
close.
awesome.
The other thing I wanted to say was, as you all probably know, the selectmen removed your old section 9 that was a list of pointers to other stuff, and that's something I support. But I did make an observation when the Board of Health voted on this that I thought I'd share with you folks. I mean, I understand why you would put it there, and the problem is that you were trying to solve is that people really don't know where to go, and there's a whole bunch of somewhat overlapping laws and stuff. And what I suggested at the Board of Health was that it would be a good thing to put together not just their rules and regulations, not just the bylaw, but a document that you could call it a brochure, but basically how do we deal with noise issues in Southborough, and do something that has, a flow chart that says, if you're annoyed by noise, talk to your neighbor. Then if it's this kind of noise, at this time, go here. If it's that, go there. And the reason for bringing it up here is that you folks have put so much time into exploring this that I suspect you could be really helpful in capturing the information to put something like that together. Because I think that's really what you were trying to get at, and what I believe is a need, right? Because no one reads a bylaw or a statute until everything else has failed and they're trying to figure out, now what hammer do I have? Where I think what you could do is give people sort of a path through the morass that says, when I'm in this situation, this is where I should go. And so I just wanted to float that before all of your expertise evaporates when your terms expire and this bylaw meets its fate.
Thank you, Tim. Those are great suggestions, and
Excellent.
hopefully
Yeah.
the Board of Health will keep us advised on their actions.
Well, I'm hoping that you'll help them, like volunteer, sign up,
Yeah.
capture what you've got.
I don't know, $500, I don't know.
501 won't kill
Heather,
you.
you might be on your own with that.
Oh, no, thank you, Tim. I was gonna bring it up if he didn't bring it up, but yes, we may ask for help.
Okay.
I think you know where we live now.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, yeah, I think we can, thank you, Tim. Any other public comment out there? I'm going to keep it open throughout the whole meeting anyways, until the end. Do we want to work on the Q&A? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we need to get this done and we need to decide if we're sending something out or not, so.
Yep.
Back to the correct screen, right? You guys see everything?
so, I mean, do we need to adjust our version to eliminate that section 9? So we can have an official approved version that we can share with people, you know, in the community, especially that list of 200 that we have, that email list.
My suggestion is the town warrant is posted. We just
Yeah.
pull the link to where the warrant is and say Article 27 is the bylaw as written in the warrant, and share that as the reference point. So that way we're not sharing something that's not publicly posted and will be printed.
So will we be able to do that in a link form?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do that.
As long as we can do it in something that, you know, the people can look at, click on it and get that information.
Yeah.
If they can't, then I think we should provide it in the email.
We can make it as a link, or I mean, theoretically, it could be downloaded and just attached as a PDF. But
Okay.
my preference is not to try to be the owner of the information. I'd rather point people to where the information is posted, so that way we're not,
Sure.
you know.
I mean, those people did supply their emails with the promise that we would keep them posted. So I think before the meeting, we should, if we give them our Q&As and the actual warrant article, then that's wonderful.
Yep.
And maybe even the presentation. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? No?
Presentation should be given live with more
Okay.
verbal context.
Yeah, because just looking at the slides doesn't tell you the additional things which you will say. Because as you saw, my goal on my part is not to read the slides to them, but to add to what the slides say and assume that they can read the slide themselves.
Okay.
If
Okay.
anything, we could maybe include the scenarios. I think that could add some kind of value. But other than that, I would probably steer clear of that. And I'd rather put the scenarios as a page 2 to the FAQs and have it as one document.
Sure. I actually was thinking when I was reading the presentation that it could be part of the FAQ. That's fine. Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we go back to this, we said we'd start with leases, which is on the left. And then I have the top FAQs document that we had before on the right. So I'm actually going to do one thing real quick before we do this. I just want to make a version 2 and keep version 1 here as a reference. We can combine the documents together. Okay, coming back up. Okay, so it's not as big as I normally have it, but I got 2 things on the screen here. Leases is here on the left. That's where we said we would start. So I don't know how you guys feel, if you've done some research on this and somebody has a jumping off point. I don't specifically have a jumping off point for this one.
The first question I think is fine. The second question, what research? I think you can summarize, you know, the what you talked about in the slides. You know, the hours and.
So
Yeah. The first 5 things, I think 1, 2, 3, 4 things.
So let's talk about the first one. We got a couple different approaches to it. We have more color on this one, and we have a quicker version of a different variant, and then we also have our own version that we threw into the slideshow, which is printed with the warrant. So we have 3 variants floating on the screen to this. So I think it'd be good just to get one bullet point at a time cleared up. So as we get through this thing, we feel like we're more complete.
And I still think that the one on the left is just too wordy. It gets into how it was all evolved. The question is, why do we need one? And it boils down to there are noise issues in town that affect people. It's just, I mean, we could expand the why do we need a noise bylaw, but I just think there's just too much here.
Do you want to just use what you have in the presentation?
I mean, I think that's the balance of the two.
Yeah.
West
Yeah.
still has the context. So
Yeah.
I think personally, I'd rather go there.
All right, that's fine.
So this version 2 here is going to be the one that we're consolidating to.
Okay.
So I'm going to just kind of make all this yellow for now as we go through it. So we know we get all the sections that we feel we need. Okay, so we got that one done. Are we in agreement with?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So Lisa's number 2. What research and support did the noise bylaw committee have in creating the presentation?
I think just the bullet points that you have.
I think this non-voting members is good. We might need to add that in.
Yeah, add that as a bullet point.
So
I wonder if we should also put that it was reviewed by town council.
does that help us here?
No,
I mean, it was,
no, I don't think so. I
no,
mean, it may just make it the document longer.
okay. So you're gonna get rid of that paragraph above the bullet points?
Well,
just-
why don't we have, then let's make a bullet point out of the 20 Massachusetts towns.
Well, that's what bullet point
Oh,
3 is.
okay, yeah,
I mean, if you want to add the number 20, but
yeah, no, that's all right, it's
We-
okay.
We went over 20, I think. So
There were a lot of towns we went through, because we each did like at least like 3 or 4, right?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's perfect. Yep.
I'll go back and clean this up later.
Yep.
okay,
Okay, decibel limits. So we have a version here. We have a version here in yellow, and then the PowerPoint has a version.
I'd say don't use the PowerPoint one, just so that they'll have something else new they can hear. I would go with one of the wordier ones. I have to read them both to see which one I'd go with.
So this one covers using decibels as a reason it never passed before, which is an interesting tactic, something we haven't really used in some of the language that we've talked about so far.
Yeah, I don't know, reviewing why it failed, why decibels failed before, I'm not sure adds a whole lot. I'm just trying to figure out if there's any information that we need to add into the consolidated one. The one on the right, I think, gives more information about decibels.
Yeah, I like the one on the right as well.
Yeah, I prefer the one on the right as well.
Is there anything missing from the one on the right?
Practicality of enforcement.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Right.
say, that it's not
So
easy to.
Pull that from the,
Yeah, you can pull that from here.
Yeah. So you can turn that all white.
somebody proofread this if I turn it white.
I can't see the whole thing, our
Yeah, it's behind the,
faces.
I think you can move the faces to the other side. Or now you can.
I'll just do this
Okay.
for now. I'm gonna move it back.
I just moved them.
Okay, it says that a black and white limit, so this, one of those that's has to come out.
How about I get rid of part of it? And I get rid of part of it so that way it seems like they're supposed to be again. I don't know if I want to draw attention specifically to a lawnmower here, knowing what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if there's another sound that we could bring in here that is a drone.
Like construction equipment.
Um,
Um,
it needs to just be constant. It's like when it becomes white noise, your brain tunes out the frequency because it's not trying to eat you. That's like literally what the psychoacoustic principle states in this scenario.
Remember, the citizens aren't acoustic experts. Even acoustic experts get confused. So I wouldn't go too deep. This is more of a, it's complicated. It's not enforceable. You're not going to win anybody over by going more detailed, right?
Correct.
Right.
Does it give us more credibility in the FAQs or no?
I think
Because
I
it
get rid of the
explains-
psychoacoustics, maybe.
What was that, Lee?
I don't know, I'm thinking about whether just getting rid of the psychoacoustics. Because the real, the real bottom line is that it's not practical to enforce it. I mean, that's
Right.
and getting into the psychoacoustics of it, while that may be very true. Yeah, I can hear those barking dogs even right now.
I mean, I'm technical in nature, so seeing this gives me confidence in the rationale. But if it doesn't help other people, I'm not the target audience.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit more confusing to leave that sentence in there. Might be more controversial. Plus it makes it shorter too. Yeah.
Okay, so votes.
How about if we say, rather than just taking that last sentence from the presentation, saying something about because of the difficulty in decibel measurement.
I
And
would say it's not complete. I would say didn't give a fair picture of the situation.
Where do you want that, Pete?
Where it says, second
line.
line at the end, didn't give a fair picture of the situation.
fair or accurate?
Either one is fine.
I mean, technically it's accurate. This is where it's subjective versus objective.
Right. Yeah, I think that looks fine. Now,
Okay, so kill the sentence that's crossed out,
yeah,
keep everything else.
yeah.
Guys, part of me gets killed when we delete this, but I'll do it.
Don't worry. Somebody else on the town meeting floor is going to bring it up. So.
Okay, so final proofreading, are we okay with this?
Why is testing underlined, you think?
Because it thinks that it's not grammatically correct.
Okay.
It could be
Should say we did a test.
we conducted testing.
Okay.
I mean, grammar's not my strong suit. I can put words on paper that make sense, but I'm by no means a writer.
We can take out
Yeah,
it
doesn't
was
stand
in
by
the
that,
third
yeah.
sentence. We can take out it was.
Yeah. So we conducted testing, utilizing instead of with.
Correct.
Hmm.
And determined that a black and white limit didn't give a fair picture of the situation.
And should we say limits from other towns' bylaws?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, that looks good.
I feel like this last sentence
and
should be in the middle.
And
Not
then in that one, as a decibel measurements are not practical and thusly problematic to enforce as evidenced by the experience of other towns. And delete during our research.
And I think that somebody just said we should move that sentence up before instead the committee decided sentence.
yeah, I think it needs to move. I think it's in a weird spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So move it to
right there.
right
Yep.
there, yep. So man, up and this.
You're gonna add a period at the end of the. There you go.
yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that sounds much better. Yep. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Do we want to put anything there about that towns with decibel limits have not been successful in enforcing them?
I
'Cause
think
I
we
know,
would,
Pete, you talked to some towns. and they didn't have good experiences.
Right.
We're adding a lot to it. I think that there's value there, Cindy, but I don't know if it's necessarily I don't know if it adds enough value to justify the extra length.
The words, okay,
Right.
okay,
If it comes up, we can address that on the floor.
that's
Hopefully it
fine.
won't, but if it does, we'll talk about it.
Okay, so moving V2 back to the side.
Mhm.
Next thing that Lisa had was what measures have been taken to limit noise and allow for peace and quiet. So we sort of touched on that at the end of this other one. And she covers Southborough has no bylaw governing hours today.
Yeah, we have already said that we don't have limits. I don't see why we need to restate it.
So you guys think we should not include this because it's redundant?
Correct.
Yeah,
John?
I'm just thinking, you had a very concise, simple sentence, which I thought was very powerful, which was you're trying to get contractors and landscapers and so forth to be neighborly. I'm just trying to figure out what question we would ask to get that answer.
It would be why are homeowners and contractors separated?
Separated.
And then we could answer that with saying that since contractors don't live beside you,
Yeah.
by, you know, by implementing some basic restrictions, and maybe restrictions not the word, but implementing some basic restrictions, they have a mandate to act neighborly. We could figure out the exact wording.
Yeah, that's fine. We just move on from this question.
Okay, so move on from this one. We're good.
Yeah.
So what health issues can arise from hearing loss and exposure to noise pollution?
Honestly, this is where you start losing me.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is way too much for frequently asked
That's a Board of
questions.
Health deal.
Yeah,
It's an educational issue, I think. But I don't think that's not going to make the case for either voting or not voting for it. Because we're not really restricting noise. We're just trying to get people to be neighborly.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep going.
yep.
And then this is why are there different hours for homeowners and contractor activities? I don't see an answer for that. So
Well, is that where we should put in the part about the neighborly business?
do I have anything over here? Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
there's a- Yeah, it says here, homeowners have to live beside their neighbors. It should be
Okay,
neighborly.
yeah,
Yeah, as long as we talk about neighborly, plus they have to work on their own properties outside their work schedules. Contractors' full-time jobs are to work and have more ability to work within us, right? Okay.
Okay, so are we okay with this one? I just want to
I
start.
am, yeah.
can you just push it over again, just so I can take a final grammar look?
Yeah,
Contractors and homeowners,
Somebody needs
separated.
to catch
Homeowners
my
have to
bad
live
spelling.
beside them and should be neighborly. Plus, they have to work on their own outside of the work schedule. Contractors full-time are to work and have more ability to work and have full-time jobs are to work and have more ability to work within. Okay, yep, got it. Okay, it's fine.
okay. I didn't say work too many times.
No,
Okay. So that's white, put that back over. Okay, can I use my leaf blower? So certainly, and be sure to wear some form of hearing protection. The intent of the noise bylaw is to place limits around equipment and hours of operation. This one says, why aren't they specifically included? And there's nothing in the PowerPoint, so we only have 2 versions to look at.
I don't think we need to lecture people about wearing or not wearing some form of hearing.
Right.
I think there's more information in the one on the right, actually.
I like the one on the right.
Me too.
Allow noisy work on Sunday.
And you know, in many ways, these FAQs, as they're being put together, almost form the basis of the document that Mr. Litt was suggesting that the Board of Health be able to put on their website.
Hmm.
Should we put with the leap laws when we talk about contracted work noise standards, which do not allow noisy work on Sundays? Should we also put the work hours during the week too? And I thought, didn't we have different hours on a Saturday too? Than a homeowner?
Saturday's 7 to 7, I think.
But isn't it different for a homeowner?
No, it's the same start time, different end times.
Right, that's what I meant.
Homeowners on Saturday are 8 to 9 and 8 to 6 for contractors.
Right, the contractors have to stop 3 hours early on a Saturday, so. Or after 6 on Sunday. Or on Saturday, I'm sorry.
So we can add more to this, but this is trying to say do not allow as
Right.
a hard number. Is a hard limit. I don't know if expanding to what the other hours are weakens this stance.
Okay.
It's a question. That's my initial.
I mean, they do not allow noise after 6 on Saturday. Or do not allow noise at work on after 6 on Saturday or all day Sunday and holidays. But yeah, right. Right.
I think the or in the second to last sentence should be an and.
Oh, you mean? I see where you are.
No.
No,
what the
you
way
had it
you
right.
had- Oh. No, the one after, or after Saturday, yeah, and all day, yeah.
Everybody good on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next one down, well, we have
Yeah.
Heather.
Oh yeah, we can do that, and we'll go back to Lisa's.
Let's do that in case Heather wants to jump off. No, the one where it says
Yeah.
why isn't industrial noise addressed? Is Heather good with that?
It's,
Is she still there?
I'm here.
Oh,
Sorry, I didn't see this before.
okay. What are your thoughts on that one?
I like the flavor. I mean, the intent of what you're saying. Specific control over this type of problem. Doesn't seem quite the right wording, but
Yeah. This type of noise is regulated by state laws in the Southborough Heart of Health.
So just say.
Why don't we just do,
Take that
why don't we
out.
just put a period after?
Noise.
Health.
There was 3 people talking at once and I typed something, so who wants to go?
I'll go. I said, specific control over industrial noise.
Okay.
Right.
Anybody want to contest that?
Heather, do you like that now?
Yeah.
Okay. Make it white.
I would change where it says local board of health, I would say the town board of health, and town would be capitalized.
Heather, I know you go by 2 different things. Is there a preference?
In terms of town or Southborough?
Down Southborough or local? Is there a preference to how you guys typically refer to yourselves? Because I know it's local in some other documents I've seen.
Local board of health is kind of a generic term for all the boards of health in the state, but
I think that's fair enough. It's not like we're putting it in the article. It's just a fact.
And then you get
Questionnaire.
rid of the last word. No has.
I don't, I mean,
And so it'd be of the town board of health, control of the, limit the control of, that would do it. I just don't like ending a sentence with a verb.
Yep.
Heather, you seem like you're not loving this one.
I mean, other towns do put things that address this in their bylaw. So I don't know that you would necessarily want to say that you overstep and limit the control.
But if it's in the bylaw, then you, as the Board of Health, you can't make changes more freely to update the legislation to correct
Right.
it. Right now, you take a vote in a meeting and you can adapt your policy, right?
Right, we have no policy now, but we'll look to put some in.
But if it's in the bylaw, then you lose control as the Board of Health, because now the town has to approve.
Right.
That's
Yeah, then maybe just take out the overstep.
Yeah, I think overstep is the wrong word. You're not overstepping, you're limiting their ability.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
We. I don't
How
think you-
about could
actually-
instead of would?
Yeah, we,
Cindy, what?
Just say, get rid of we, just put would actually limit.
And I would change would to could.
I
could.
agree, could. And you don't need to put actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
It could limit.
yep. Okay,
Should there be some kind of punctuation between bylaw and it?
Lee,
Thinking.
Semicolon or comma?
Yeah, there actually should be a comma.
Yeah, I think so. Or what you could do is eliminate the word by. So start the sentence with putting. Then would say, putting anything specific into the noise bylaw could limit the control of the town board of health. I think
Yeah, that's better.
it
Yeah.
is an active way of saying it.
Yep. I like it.
We're
Yeah.
always supposed to try to put things active instead of passive.
cool. Anybody else on this section?
Looks good.
better, thank you.
And is this the right question for this? is it addressed, or why isn't industrial noise included?
Let's just say included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this section's good.
Yes.
Move this
Yeah.
back over. So Lisa's next thing is about a generator and also a snow blower. So,
Didn't we
a
have
snow
something?
blower.
We've got that.
so there's a version here. It's not in the PowerPoint. So we have, is this the right version? Is this the right version? Or is there something else?
I think that it's covered under the one on the right.
Yeah, you could, yeah. Both of them are. The generator and the
mean-
snow blower is all covered by the first, the what about snow cleanup?
Yeah, and the important thing there is that there's no hours restriction, so you can start
Right,
snow blowing at 5 or
right.
Is
I
it,
think
the
it's
next-
covered.
The
Is
next
it-
one down's good.
is it restriction or is it just noise bylaw period?
it's exempt.
It's just exempt, right? So not
Right.
restrict, it's exempt from the noise
Right.
bylaw. Okay.
You know, addressing the generator along with snow cleanup doesn't go with the question unless you make this.
Break it out to a new question, yeah.
You'd either
A question should be, if you lose power, can you use a generator?
I'm trying to keep it shorter. So
I know.
if we keep this, can we address it by the question? What about snow or storm cleanup?
and you could also make it 2 questions in one. You know, put then have a second question. You know, what if I lose power? Or what if I lose my power? So it'd say, what about snow or storm cleanup? What about if I lose power?
So losing
All on
power,
the same line?
losing power is only covered if it's part of storm cleanup. By the way, the bylaw is written. It says storm cleanup is where the generator fits in. So if you lost power because you didn't pay your electric bill, it's not an exempt activity. If you lost power because a tree fell on the power lines, it's an exempt activity. So it
Okay,
falls back
then
into the
storm
snow or
cleanup
storm.
does cover it. All right,
So that's why it found its way together before.
I'll buy it. I must say that I had not considered somebody in Southborough not paying their electric bill.
You could lose power due to accidents.
I was
Car
gonna say,
accidents.
car hits a pole. But it's already in the bylaw, so can't really change it now.
I mean, what
I don't
does it,
think,
for reference though, I mean, it's worth seeing what we wrote down. If I can find it on my screen in 30 slides. It's
Yeah,
exemptions.
exceptions.
Emergency activities, including but not limited to storm cleanup, power outages, snow removal. So it's emergency activity actually. So
Right, it's power outage,
yeah,
so it is included.
right,
yeah. So emergency activities. What about emergency activities like storm cleanup?
Or power, or power outage.
Okay, that's a
that
better.
looks good. Yeah,
So we want to change this normal kid activities to something else.
why don't you emulate what you have in the presentation?
We just said no change.
Yeah, we did.
So it's not exactly,
I mean, you could take, you could say no normal kid activities are not restricted by the noise bylaw before 11 PM at night. But then some people might say that's too late, so maybe that's not a good idea.
I mean, you guys might read this differently, and I don't know who all has kids or not, but is this negative? I don't read it negative.
No, I think I think a lot of people have kids, and the question's been asked a couple of times, so.
Right.
But is this coming across as negative? We need to change it, or is it coming across that, like in this FAQs document, we changed it on the other slide? So John, you had a valid point there. So is there a better way of writing this?
I would follow Lee's recommendation lately, be more active. So will I get in trouble if my kids play outside? No, we want kids to enjoy life. I don't know. I'm just,
Be kids.
yeah, just,
Yeah,
that's what we want. I mean, I want kids. That's why we live in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So is this good the way it is?
Yeah. Yep.
Or should this be active? Since the question's about playing.
be active, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Sounds good.
Okay. So this one's sarcastic about being outside at night. Do we need it? Do we not?
So I'd say, I would start it with saying, can I have people over and enjoy my backyard in the evening?
And make it be a question.
And say yes. Right, that looks good.
Is it adding value to keep this in as an FAQ? Because we're starting to get long, so I just want to make sure that we're keeping the right ones.
I think that one probably is.
Is worth keeping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth keeping too.
I mean, that's only one page, right? Well, no, we got some more.
We're on two
I mean,
pages.
I gotta organize it a little bit. Maybe the font could change a little bit, but we're gonna put,
As long as we need to keep it at 2 pages.
Right. So I think it's a front and back right now still.
Right.
okay, so I'm having an event on my property.
Instead of alert, I would say advise your neighbors.
Advise is a different action than alerting them.
Yeah, but when you alert somebody, I don't know, it just seems like there's something
How about inform?
wrong, you know?
How about inform your neighbors?
Correct, okay, yep.
Mm,
And instead of calling it a noisy activity, maybe your noise producing activity.
Is it where you can or in which you can?
It's probably whereby.
whereby.
Wasn't one of the options, Lee.
I know. It's the non-lawyer in me.
Okay, that looks good.
So can we just go back to the beginning and do a quick whip through here?
Yeah, this is the only one with bullet points. It's kind of bothering me, but I don't know if it bothers anybody else.
Can you put it in the font that the other ones are in to see what the size of it is?
Yeah,
I kind of like the bullet points because I think it's highlighting something specific.
I like it too.
yeah, I do too. I mean, there's a ton of information in that.
Yeah.
And to put it in sentences, I just think it reads better for a lot of information to be bullets.
That bullet point number 5, there's a lot of double spaces in the
Yeah,
layout.
I know why.
Paragraph, yeah.
Okay.
Then I would probably move the decibel question to be the third question. Because that way we've got, you know, a progression starting with why do we need it? What did we do to come up with it? Why didn't we do something that some people were asking for? And then we get into some of these different scenarios.
Yeah.
You need to move
could
the
put
leaf
the
blower.
leaf blower one also, that exactly what I was saying. Yep.
Before,
That after either before or after decibels, it doesn't matter to me.
anybody have an opinion? I think before might be
well, after, because we're already talking about decibels.
Yeah,
I would think it would come after the
Go with Cindy,
decibels.
yeah.
so decibels, leaf blowers, and then we go.
Why are contractors and homeowners separated would be next.
And that goes after leaf blowers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then should we put, so industrial noise was eliminated. So I'm okay with leaving that as at the end.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm okay with leaving that at the end.
So emergency
The
activity.
others, I think, all have equal priority, sort of, so in terms of a question. So I don't have any feelings one way or the other about which organ is. Because now they're all coming into the idea of the exempt or prohibited. And then the event of my property is in one of the later sections, so that would be a good place for it to be near the end. And then industrial noise not included, it was our original section 9. I'd be happy with this order. It's a page and a half. If you put it in 7-point fonts, it will probably be 1 page. Nobody will read it.
We could definitely do something like this.
Yeah, but you have to consider what kind of printer they might use. Whether, how far out at.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go much closer, but I could give it a little bit more on the side to make it all fit.
I think as long as it's, you know, 1 sheet of paper, if it's, you know, front and back, it's not going to be a big deal.
if you put the very first, the title of it in the header, it won't look quite so squishy.
I bumped it back down. I almost had it.
Did have it.
I could center this. So
Yeah, center it and bold it.
Oh. Too big.
So close.
I moved. Yeah, I did move this.
Now you've got room for at least this whole thing.
I mean, do we want to put all her reference materials on the back?
Well, I thought the scenarios would be a good back. I mean, we could do that if we wanted to, but I think we need the 4 scenarios here to give this
Oh.
some clarity.
Although we kind of answered them here.
I know, we did most of those scenarios already. And we're gonna talk about them at the meeting anyways.
Yeah, I don't think
wouldn't
I'd put them
the
in
FAQ.
here.
I mean, just in fairness to Lisa. I mean,
I'm all for it. We were trying to get down to either 1 page or a page front and back.
right, so we got a front and the back will throw all those, the bibliography she provided.
So
I mean, I
we
think
want
she'd
to
really be
bring,
happy if we did that too. I think that she did a lot of work to put the.
I know.
And it's very good information.
Right, and that's where it should be.
Right.
so I don't know what happened here, but I'll figure that out.
Yeah. See, now I kind of like that.
I mean, if I'm doing this and we're adding a full page to it, unless it won't fit, I think that I'm going to put my margins back a little bit. We're going to let a couple of these bleed on the next page just for safety and printing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because anything that's outside these margins could conceivably be outside of what the town's printer is.
So let's see what's going on here. Doesn't everybody love watching all this stuff get set? So it looks like only industrial noise would fall in this section, and then these could be,
Yeah, that's a bigger font overall. So yeah, just make it all the same.
actually, I'm going to do it. This will become the same, and the other can be reasonable.
Yeah, but then you can turn it up a little higher. You can decrease the spacing between the paragraphs.
I mean, we're on the right number, but almost on the right number of pages, so I can make this more. There we
But
go.
if you take out the space between each of the references, you get there.
Yeah, but this should be smaller anyway because it's sources.
Right. But I'm still saying you can take out the space between each, between 1 and 2.
well, if you're gonna make it smaller, I think the space in between.
As
is
as long as it fits, yeah. All right, it's getting late.
Yeah.
Is everybody good with that document so far? We can revise it at the next meeting if we have to, but
Well,
so far.
let's actually do something different, Pete. We need to get this out if we're mailing this out to people. We are not far away from town meeting at this point, so I would feel much better. I mean, I'll take some time and I'll format this and clean it up some so you guys aren't watching paint dry. But I would be more comfortable if we took a position on what we're sending out and call this document final if we can.
In all fairness to Lisa, as I would anybody else on the committee, I want to give her, I want to hear her vote on it. We have a meeting scheduled, an hour meeting next week. I think we could just bring it up to do the final, the final approval, just a quick vote. And then we got to notify the town on how they print it out for the town meeting. I can handle that.
It's cutting it too close, Pete. It's cutting it way too close.
Lisa,
We have a quorum,
Lisa's starting point. And I mean, in all fairness to Lisa too, like we took her starting point we kept as many things as we agreed on keeping from her starting point. We used it as a template like we said we would. We have the sources, we have the health section we added back in because we found space for it. We did as many things as we could that Lisa had asked us to do.
I guess in the we don't have time. That's fine. We can just say that. I just feel bad about about it. But
Cindy,
I guess-
could we privately print this on our own and bring it and give it to the town? I like Peter, Lisa did, she did put a lot of effort into this stuff. So,
Well, do either of the, Peter, John, do you think that we've substantially changed what she did? I mean,
No.
If we were not planning on including that big section on the back about the health effects, then yes, I could see where she might be, upset with it. But the fact is that, we worked hard to be able to fit it, make enough space so that we could include all the things that we thought needed to be in there in addition to that. And I feel like we've respected her opinions in her absence. That's my personal feeling. And so I would feel very comfortable with us putting this one, approving it, putting it to bed.
I mean, I agree. I just know that she put in a lot of hours, and if there was a way we could do it to get her blessing, obviously that's the route I want to go. But if there isn't, in practicality, I mean, is this something that we just go up to town hall and tell them I don't know how many we need, how many people go to town meeting? We need 300 sheets of these. Like,
Yep.
I don't know. But I'm fine if you want to approve it. I think it is a very good representation of what she presented. So I wouldn't think she would be upset, but it's just the formality of it.
If you really wanted to, like make sure she was included, we could say, pending not hearing an objection from her, in the next 24 hours, because right now she's 6 hours ahead of us, I think. She's either 5 or 6 hours. I forget exactly where she was, but she's in Europe somewhere, I think. So.
Well, let me ask this question. It's a different approach to this. We are waiting to update that giant mailing list of people on our progress and where we stand. If we wait for Lisa's approach,
you're right.
Are we delaying progress?
Yeah, we don't have time. All right, I'm good with just going forward. We talked about it. There was no way around it. Let's go forward with what we just did. You want to take a vote on it? I propose that we submit to the town to be circulated at town meeting, and we also circulated through the email chain the Q&A that we just finished.
Second.
I'll second it.
Seconded by
Lee
or Tim?
Lee.
All those in favor, thumbs up. We have a unanimous vote. So that ship sailed.
And unless I'm mistaken, grossly mistaken, I think Lisa will be satisfied with this.
No, and I agree too, but I don't like when people speak for me, and
well,
it's only fair for her to have her say. And I mean, I would do that for anybody here. And the only reason why I'm not is because we just don't have any time.
Right.
I
Lisa did concede at the last meeting that, she would hope that we would keep what she'd submitted in, and we did. So
We did as much as we thought, as much as we could. So
yeah,
it's all good. It's all good.
Okay,
It is what it is.
so
and because we're Zoom, she did have the opportunity to, to stay up till like 2 a.m. to be able to. I mean, honestly,
You're right.
I have started meetings at midnight when I've been on vacation in Europe if a meeting was important to me.
Yeah, I get it.
And I've started it at 6
Oh,
a.m. when I was.
Hold on. I'm just going to say, I want to move on from this, but I just want to specify important. I know it's important to Lisa. We know it is. It's kind of unreasonable to expect her to join this meeting while she's on vacation. So
Right.
we know it's important to her. It's not saying it's not. It's just not fair to expect her to join while over there. I'm just putting on that.
Yep.
And as we said, I think that we've included pretty much something from all of her frequently asked questions. And so even if we didn't have the exact words, I think we've got the exact spirit.
Yep. All right, well, we voted on it, and that's, so Tim, are you comfortable with sending that out?
So I would like to send out this FAQ document in a PDF form. I'd like to send out a link to the town's warrant article and say Article 27, I believe, is where we are, and say that's the article to check out on page whatever. And so you get a link and you get the FAQs. And is there a context? Let's not get the words right. Is there a context that the committee would like me to include with this information? And I'll take care of filling in the blurbs when I send that email probably tomorrow.
You mean like an opening paragraph on
Like what's the context? Like do we want to say like along the lines of here's the information, we want you to be able to review it? You know, do we want to ask for questions? Do we not want to ask for questions? Do we want to say we'll see you at the town meeting? Do we want
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, so here's
Just say, I mean, you asked to be
Updated.
updated on the town bylaw, noise bylaw, and here's what we've done. We've put together some questions, and we also, what has been approved for the town meeting warrant. And just, you know, very simple. Because we did make that promise, so.
Mhm.
So is that a motion, Tim?
Are you gonna send them version 12 too, or? Oh, no, you don't need
No,
to
he's
because you
not.
give
He
it
needs
them
a
the
link.
link.
The warrant.
Got it, got it.
I mean, I don't think I need to make a motion for that. It's just my homework item that I'll take care of
Yeah.
this week.
Okay.
Now, can you
and
get
then-
the FAQs to Cindy for the minutes?
Yeah, we got a lot of FAQs, so I got a lot of things to send along.
Okay.
Cindy, I'll send an email with everything. Just reply to that email with your minutes when you're done, so that way everything stays on the same thread.
Right.
Okay.
Pete, who's going, about getting the FAQs printed, are you gonna go to town hall with those, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna, I'll
That
I'll
needs to
call the
be
town hall tomorrow
happening.
and figure out how we're gonna do that.
Yeah, that should
Okay,
be
so I'm gonna put that as an action item for you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
that should be Mark Purple. He should be able to just answer the process.
Yeah, Tim, if you could obviously forward that to me and I'll forward it to him.
Yeah, I'll finish this real quick before we're done because there's just a lot of formatting that I have to do real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we have time, so you can do it tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow because then that way I don't have to try and get it done tonight.
All right, I'd like to close public comment if there is any left.
There's one more person there, so I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? The thumbs up have it, unanimous. So that's done. The future meetings, the next meeting we have is the 27th from 6 to 7, 1 hour long. Just in case some hotbed activity comes up that we need to address. Otherwise, I think we're pretty good to go. Anybody else have anything else?
Nope.
I will post a meeting for the 27th. If anybody has anything they want me to put on that meeting agenda, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just post something generic.
I feel like.
Wait,
And-
do we know, are we settled that Tim and Lee are gonna give the presentation at town meeting, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's going to be similar to what we did tonight with I'll do
Right.
the first part and he'll do the scenarios.
Right.
Perfect.
And it sounded like we're anticipating it's going to happen on the second night from what Tim and I were saying, Article 27.
There's no
Yeah, it's
way,
really hard to tell.
no way we're getting that on the first night.
You'd be surprised.
I mean, a lot of the first ones are financial in nature, but I mean,
Yeah, but they do all the town reports the first night. Every department gets up and does their whole thing.
Oh,
I mean,
that's true.
There's a lot of rigmarole on the first night before you even get into warrant articles.
yeah, well, that's why it's starting at 6:30. So as long as there's a quorum at 6:30, a lot of that stuff gets a chance to get going to expedite
Yeah.
things. But if I read on my Southborough correctly, there's a number of contentious articles, or assumed contentious articles, and a handful of them are before us. So
My Southborough.
What kind of a website is that?
Yeah. Is that the Globe?
Yeah. Don't piss her off.
That's like the only news that's the only news I get now.
I love a fearful man.
All right, folks, we're gonna adjourn with a show of thumbs. Thumbs up.
seconded.
All the way around, we have it. So see you next Wednesday.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.